everybody. Welcome to Tapping with Lucille. Today, I've got here Jesse Sier with us, and I'm really excited to be recording in nature today. So this is the first time I've been doing this, so lots of firsts. So, hi, Jesse. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Are you happy to
Good.
share with everyone a bit about your background?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a health coach, holistic health coach. I'm a nourished cook and a yin yoga teacher. And yeah, just really keen advocate for self-development, personal development.
Beautiful. I love that. Um,
Mm.
for anyone who doesn't know, Jesse and I, we met at a Mana Movement retreat a few years ago.
Yeah.
Was it the 10-day retreat, Jesse?
Yes, it was. It was
Yeah.
incredible. That was actually like that was everything for me. It was really actually like the start of my real like self-development. It was just incredible. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, life changing. So if anyone hasn't heard of that, I'll be putting some details in the description. You can go to themanamovement.org and check out some more information. But
Mm,
yeah, so Jesse and I are here today to talk about nutrition, something that has
mm,
helped both of us in our personal development journeys.
yeah.
So yeah, so can you share, Jesse, what started your journey with nutrition?
Yeah, I mean like that's it's such a big there's so much behind it, but I really got into it because of my own self-develop like my own personal journey with eating disorders and with just low self-worth, drug and alcohol abuse, like just feeling really low and crappy within myself. And I was actually working in Melbourne, and there was these two personal trainers that always come into the shop, and I was just always enthused by how lively they were. And I'd never really done anything with personal training or exercise in that way before. So they really inspired me to start eating and sort of started looking at what was actually in my food. Um, and training just twice a week. And I literally just my whole body transformed and I was just hooked. It was so exciting to see like how the body can change and how you can just feel so good when you eat well and you exercise. So yeah, that sparked my interest.
Beautiful.
And from there it just sort of like, yeah, it ignited something for me.
Yeah, lovely. That thank you for sharing that because I know in my journey, exercise and personal training, they definitely go together. That's really like I only got personal training maybe a couple years ago, and it's really um given me a huge boost. In the gym I go to, they really do focus on nutrition. They love
Mm,
to calorie count. I must admit, I'm not a big fan of
no.
calorie counting. But
Me either.
I figure if I'm eating fresh food and staying away from the junk, then don't worry so much. But
100%.
you agree
I
on
would honestly say the same. Like from my own journey, I think that eating whole foods is more of the aim for me. Eating whole foods, eating real foods, less numbers, eating regularly. And yeah, I mean, there's also been that massive journey, like with just drinking green juices and, like basically starving myself. And I realized that at that point I was vegan and I realized it's like it's not about starvation or to me about counting calories. Like in reality, to me personally, that was actually more of a stress when I was like micromanaging everything and looking at everything. Um, so yeah, just eating real whole foods, less packets and more just like a full plate that's going to keep you fuller for longer, you know keep you satiated, keep your blood sugars level. Yeah.
yeah, I identify with that because when I never used to worry about my nutrition, and I was working full time and stressed out, and I would just eat whatever
Mm,
was convenient, and it started to really catch up with me. And in fact, I noticed it when it was lockdowns and couldn't go
mm,
anywhere, and that's when I started like gaining some weight, and I was like. It's like, oh, okay. Oh, better start getting real and focusing on my nutrition. And something that helped me was my Thermomix and cooking from scratch. And it doesn't have to be complicated, does it?
no, I think like that's for me is like what I'll tell any client or help people with is just like setting a routine and just getting into healthier habits, not trying to do everything all at once, but just doing a little bit gradually. And you, as you said, like your Thermomix is such a big asset to have in the kitchen when it comes to creating your own food and, time and efficiency. That's another thing you'd look at is just like how much time do you have? Are you time poor? Does it mean that you have to like basically meal prep one day for the rest of the week, just to set yourself up for success, just like looking at your routine and what's realistic for you.
Yeah, nice. And I like how you said, we don't have to be a perfectionist. Like if we're
No.
aiming for perfection, it's
Mm,
not going to become a habit and it's going
mm.
to, harder to do it, stick to it every day and becomes all too
Yeah,
hard. So keep it easy.
100%. Yeah. And just, like don't get down on yourself if you slip up or you think that like everything's ruined and then you just, you go back into old patterns and it's like just do your best and just, yeah, add more vegetables where you can, drink more water where you can, do a stretch where you can, just like just these little bits and pieces that like do add up. And they really do because you're retraining your brain, your body to create new habits, new neural pathways in the brain.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, would you be happy to share a bit about your journey about how you became you were a vegan and then was it I think we were sharing about this before, is that the MANA movement where something sparked your interest in eating meat again?
Yeah. So I was vegan. So when I started doing the personal training and, getting into nutrition, a little while after that, I started reading about veganism and plant-based, and to me, that really sparked interest. At that time, I was still in and out of addiction and coping mechanisms, if you will, in that way. And so I was sort of in and out of veganism for a long time. And then on my road to recovery, I went solid with like juicing and just like eating really clean. And that was great for a period of time. And then yeah, it was actually a traumatic event that happened for me that sort of catapulted me into basically chronic illness. It was like the shock and the trauma had just completely pulled me out of my body, and the only way that I could really get back into it was, manifesting this illness that, yeah, basically had me just cocooning myself for a year or so. And at that point, I was just eating so many carbohydrates, and it was just like this. Yeah, my diet had just gone out the window. Like I was just basically eating sugars um, out of survival, basically, like just to sort of yeah, keep myself satiated in that way, like comforted. Um, and I had attached so much to like this identity of being vegan that I really didn't. I was too scared of like who I was going to be on the other side of that. You know what I mean? And what people were going to think and all the things that come along with that identity that we form. And I was doing this self-development work that where we met, and we're talking about shop fronts, and mine was absolutely definitely the vegan and the juice, the juice queen and all these sorts of things. Where I was like, oh, like what do I do with that, And at this point, I was doing my health coaching certificate, and a big component of that was meat, high protein, all these things. And it was all basically like meat based, animal based coaching. And I was like, there's something trying to get my attention here. And so, yeah, it was with that after the retreat, I was talking to a woman about colonics and stuff like that. And, um, yeah, started going down that avenue. And at the same time, we're talking about like, like gut health and what's good for your gut, especially if you want to start eating meat again. So I started eating like slow cooked meats, which was like that butter and eggs. And that was like the beginning because I realized that when I was doing that personal training, like the healthiest I'd ever been was just eating chicken and vegetables and like lean proteins, less carbohydrates. Um, and that's what started to happen. My vitality started to come back, and I just started to feel so much better because I was eating lighter, but I was feeling satiated. And one of my very good friends who's also healed herself from an animal-based diet from stage 4 breast cancer.
Wow.
And she helped me do a cleanse, sugar-free cleanse for a month. And it was just a catapult to really clearing out the body and just
Wow.
coming home to like feeling like I was actually in my body, not like, dissociating out of it. So it was such a big component to my healing journey, bringing meat back in and animal-based products.
Yeah, well done. And I want to, congratulate you on being open-minded to welcoming meat back into your diet, because some people can be really closed-minded about it, and
Mm,
like you said, it could might feel like they're, like they lied about their identity when um
yeah,
it's really only a internal struggle. Like no one's really going to judge the other person, because most people are only really worried about themselves. And but yeah, coming back to that carnivore diet, my husband is a big fan of a carnivore diet. He if
mm,
he's ever feeling a bit off, or he'll
mm.
jump on it for a month solid, and he sees some fantastic results. Now, I'm not as strict as him. I don't have as much discipline as to do that, but
Yeah,
I definitely enjoy meat a lot more. Like I went off chicken for a few years. I don't
yeah,
know why. Like my gut just couldn't do it. And I've had a I'm probably gonna do an episode just on gut health, because I've struggled
yeah,
with gut health my whole life. So
yeah,
it,
same.
yeah, are you still on that journey of healing your gut health, or
So a part of that event that happens, it was when the chronic illness became it really flared up, obviously. And I was also going completely cold turkey sober from drugs and alcohol and any sort of coping mechanism. It was quite a spiritual awakening at the same time. Through that whole healing and understanding what chronic illness was, realizing that I'd actually lived with these my whole life, but hadn't had any idea. So leaky gut, gut dysbiosis, all of these effects that were wreaking havoc on my mental health as well, and which was actually then keeping me in this chronic loop of using drugs and alcohol because of what my body was like really going through. And so over the last 5 years, I've just cultivated so many different tools and different practices. And now I eat intuitively. Like I can definitely go veggie for a month if that's what my body was telling me it needed. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
it's like I don't really disregard anything that I've done in the past as far as dietary, because I know that my body needs different things at different times. It's like it's the more in tune that you get with your body, the more that you can really feel and understand what it needs and how you can then go on to help other people that might be in the same position.
Yes, I agree. There's not one fix for anyone. Like, there's nothing wrong with being vegetarian or vegan or
Not
carnivore,
at all.
right? It just doesn't matter. It's like learning
Yeah,
what our own bodies need and
100%.
to that.
I
Yeah.
know people that absolutely thrive off a vegan diet and it's like that's what suits them. And I know like if you follow like the blood type, I haven't really delved into it much, but I know that mine was definitely like veggie actually suits me along with fish. But like if you were to go by that blood work diet. So yeah, but I do like some people thrive off it. I personally didn't. I did until I didn't. My body required something different to heal. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and it's I must agree as well. I've had gut issues my whole life, and I really only figured it out maybe 10 years ago. You know,
Yeah,
I look back at photos from, my teenage, even early 20s, and I was bloated.
yeah,
Like, yeah.
100%. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that could have been from having, an American diet. So I was born and raised over there for 21
Yeah.
years. And then now I've lived in Australia for 24 years. And it's interesting to see there's a lot of major differences between food. Like the bread is just so much healthier here. Like when I go back and visit my family in the States, I can taste sugar in the bread. And
Oh, yeah.
right? It's like, what's going
Yeah.
on?
That's one of the biggest things to look at is the numbers and the processing and how the food's processed. Like, because I know, like, if you were to look at the history of bread, you'd know that, like, sourdough takes days to form and to be created, to break down. So the body knows how to break down sourdough more than it does white bread that's, made in an hour and it's got so much processed crap in it that, yeah, it doesn't know how to assimilate that. And therefore it sits and then other things, yeah, get stuck to it and you can't digest it properly.
Okay. Yeah. No wonder I
Yeah.
love sourdough bread so
Oh
much.
my God, it's like it's actually a weakness. I'm so grateful I can eat it now. I'm like, oh, so any bread was a trigger for me, but now I'm like, no, it's so good. That was like heaps of butter.
Oh, freshly made, straight out of the oven. Oh no, man.
Man, I'm just like, how did I not eat butter for so long?
Oh, butter's the best.
Butter is elite.
I love it. So
Yeah,
Jesse, could you give us like an example healthy breakfast, lunch, dinner scenario? What
yeah.
would you recommend to
Mm,
someone wanting to change some of their habits?
yeah. I mean, like, I think it's different for each person, but I mean, ideally, like eggs, like a brekkie frittata or some eggs, something that's not going to spike your blood sugars so early in the morning, like, and definitely eating before you have coffee. Um, Overnight oats is another really good one with some really good yogurt and some berries, like fresh berries. But yeah, like I keep it simple, like with like good goat's feta, avocado, and some eggs. Um, or I make like a chia pudding, like with some protein powder in it and some berries. Um,
I quickly ask why eat before you
yeah.
have coffee? Because that's like the first thing I do when I wake up is make my coffee. And sometimes I just sip on my coffee until maybe 11, at 12, like, because I like intermittent fasting. So I'm curious to know.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, and like some people thrive off that, but I think like I'm coming from more a perspective if somebody's trying to get on their health journey and probably hasn't had that may have health issues going on. I'd always recommend eating before having your coffee. Unless of course you're going into that ketosis diet, that's a whole nother segment. But like for us talking now, um, yeah, just eating before your coffee because otherwise your coffee will spike your adrenaline and all your blood sugars. So then like you sort of get this hit and then you get the crash and then that's when you like your blood sugars spike and you want to keep eating. And that is where binging can start. Or you're reaching for another coffee to get to get that spike again. So yeah, yeah, it's just looking at these ways that you can sort of line the gut before adding coffee.
Okay, good tip. And what are some
Yeah.
example healthy lunch meals
Yeah. Oh,
or
so
dinner?
many.
Because I use a lot of time my lunch is my leftover dinner.
But that's actually really good. Like if you are time poor, it's like making enough at dinner. So then, if you're making roast veggies, like throw that into a salad, like with some chicken or, like get some yummy wraps and you can make like shredded chicken, like with like that with a keto mayo or something like that. Or any sort of low sugar mayo, avocado, fresh greens, like getting creative that way, because that is a really good way to eat if you are time poor, is sort of like recreating something from the night before. For me, it's like going with how I'm feeling. Like if I'm, going down into my cycle where I'm about to get my period, like I probably don't eat anything that's too carb heavy that can make me feel bloated. Like I like to eat like less bread, higher protein, even like boiled eggs and like smashing them onto rice cakes with mayo and salt and pepper is another really good snack, another good um, meal to have.
Hey, Jesse, so would you be willing to share what your daily practices are or if you have a morning routine?
Yeah. So I've just recently got a puppy, so it's changed a little bit.
Congrats.
It now includes a very long walk every morning. But yeah, so I mean for me, yoga was something that actually completely changed my life. I didn't realize the importance of healing the body. Like I was so focused on healing the mind that I'd sort of forgotten about the importance of what, the body keeping the score and what really happens there. And I think that's why I was so drawn to the stuff with Mana was because, like working with integrative plant medicine and it just anchored me so much into my body that I was like, holy moly, like why am I feeling so much relief from this? So yeah, yoga was definitely like yin yoga has definitely been my saving grace when it comes to connection and actually feeling really anchored and connected. Also getting lymphatic moving. So doing a practice of yin, even just half an hour in the morning. And if you don't have that much time, even just getting a yoga block, just stretching out your lower back, you're stretching out behind your shoulders, just getting in and just like giving your body a good stretch in the morning. Um, and then yeah, a walk with the dog, like that's now a that's now a must, which is great. And just drinking minerals, so salt and filtered water first thing in the morning, like really helps flush the body out, and remineralizes after a big night of rest. Um,
Sea salt, Himalayan salt, doesn't matter what kind.
I use Celtic sea salt because it's so high in minerals. And the brand that I use, I just trust. I can't remember what it's called right now, but um,
You can put that in the
there's a
description.
lot of Himalayan salts and these sorts of salts out there in minerals. And the brand that I use, I just trust. I can't remember what it's called right now, but um,
You can put that in the
there's a
description.
lot of Himalayan salts and these sorts of salts out there that are heavily mined and colored. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's like I just go with the most natural that I can find, which is definitely Celtic salt.
Yeah.
Adding some lemon to that, definitely. And if you can warm it, even better. Just think of your body as a car engine. I think that's why people are so like they gravitate so much to that morning coffee or something warm is because it's actually natural for our bodies to need warmth because our our stomach is like an engine, like a car engine, and it needs that, it needs that lubrication and it needs that warmth in the morning to get going. So starting your day with, yeah,
I love that analogy. I've never
definitely.
heard that before, and I've always wondered why people recommend warm lemon water. So there you
Yeah.
go. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, it gets everything moving and lubricating.
Okay.
Mm,
Maybe the
yeah.
digestion will work better.
Yeah. And I mean, like in Japanese culture, like they always drink warm beverages, like with their food or before their food.
Yeah,
I
true,
think it's
true. They
Japanese. So yeah, definitely like the two are two musts. And if you can, like just adding like minerals, like whatever minerals, like trace minerals that you can, magnesium supplement.
Yeah, I used to always take a zinc, a vitamin C, and magnesium supplement,
Mm,
especially if I feel like a cold or flu coming on. But I just recently learned from a friend that I shouldn't take those together, especially not zinc and magnesium together, because one can
mm,
hinder the your body absorbing it.
100%. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely different vitamins that you should take away from each other. Some that you should eat before meals, some that you should eat on an empty stomach. Zinc, definitely eat with a meal because it will make you feel very ill if you don't. I don't know if you get that, but yeah, very sick. I just feel so sick. But yeah, so I mean, when it comes to vitamins, gut testing, to really know what's going on, like I always recommend talking to a naturopath. Because they can do testing to really tell you like exactly what's going on, what is needed. Like that's probably been my saving grace is that I was spending so much time trying to work it all out on my own that I was just going around and around in circles. Um, so yeah, definitely leaning into that, into support when it comes to that for sure.
Excellent.
Microbiome testing is incredible.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, there's my husband and I, we did this one bio test where we send off a sample of our stool and we send it off to the States, and
Yeah.
hoping that it was going to come back with like heaps of information about what supplements my body needs. But in fact, it came back with a list of foods which my gut doesn't like. And it was like pistachios. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
not pistachios. Oh, anyways, it was,
That's so interesting. Like, a client of mine recently done one, and it didn't come back with anything about food. It just, I'm sort of doing a diet plan for them. But it did, yeah, it just come back with like bacterial imbalances, parasites. So I suppose there's so many different ones that you can do. Um,
I'm glad you brought up parrots. Do you ever help people with parasites? Because that's something not many people talk about.
yeah, it's definitely something that's just like, yeah, that's a last year I done an intensive one for a month. I went full carnivore, no sugars, like nothing like that. And just took the herbs that they recommended, as corrective culture. And they're like specialists with all of it. And it's like there is so much that goes on in our body that we're very unaware of and doctors can't pick up on. So like, fungals, bacterial overgrowths, parasites, like yeah, there's a lot, and it can be wreaking havoc. Like this is also like where I do these cleanses as a spiritual practice too, because it can really interfere with your thinking, with your connection to spirit. And like if you want to go deep into what parasites really do, like they actually do, they control the way that you think and your cravings and what your moods, like a lot of what goes on when you're feeling out of balance isn't actually you. It could be some sort of parasitic infection or, some sort of overgrowth. So that's, yeah, definitely something that I recommend doing if you're feeling really foggy and, sugar's a real problem for you. Which, yeah, there's many components to that. But yeah, doing a cleanse is definitely one way to get your focus and your attention and coming back into your body for sure.
Yes, I actually just recently found a new detox that I love, just through researching different ideas. And I just
Yeah.
had about I think it's 1 teaspoon of diatomaceous earth per
Mm,
50 grams of weight. So I had like, I don't know, 1.5 or whatever. And then just mixed it with some juice just on an empty stomach every morning for 10 days straight.
yeah.
Then you have a week off, and then ideally 10 days again. And that kicked my sugar habit big time. I
So
was just
good.
like, hallelujah. Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff is epic. That and zeolite, because they help draw out toxins as well, but they go through and they, like, the tiny particles are enough for parasites when they eat, like chomp on it, to actually break them up and kill them. And any sort of like fungals or anything that you might have going on in the gut, it just helps sweep and draw out. The other thing being also is that if you are killing off any sort of bacteria, they can also cause a detox effect, which is like really important to be taking a binder with. So it actually helps draw that out rather than recycling the toxins back into your system.
Yes, the die-off effects can be harsh sometimes. Like that first
Mm,
days are the toughest.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, yeah, drink lots of water, help flush it out. And
Mm,
but yeah, and again, I don't recommend it to everyone.
no,
I know
no.
anyone with asthma, stay away from diatomaceous earth. It's a fine
Mm,
powder. But I use the food grade quality one, of course. um,
mm,
but yeah, do your research, talk to a naturopath, a
yeah,
dietitian,
100%.
yeah, or get a
Yeah.
coach.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, for sure. And it is like, I think it's when I'm seeking clarity, like for me, I really like use it as an inward practice as well.
Yes.
For
And
all of our spiritual friends out there, it's a
yeah,
real, yeah.
yes, because that's right. You reminded me, like, it's all connected, right? Like, like
Yeah.
my personal development journey started with my head. I was dealing with postnatal depression, and so that
Yeah.
begun my journey of going
Yeah.
at it really hard and just focusing on the mind. But then I was like, no, wait, I've got to also heal my gut because it's all linked, and then we got to
Absolutely.
remember the love, have the love in our heart, not just for those around us, but love for ourselves, and it's
Yeah.
all linked, right?
Yeah.
Mind, body, soul. And when one's
Yeah.
out of whack, it can, yeah, greatly affect on the other. So, and I hope that doesn't overwhelm anyone, but you just tackle one at a time, and
100%. Yeah.
right, it
Yeah.
will all come together. Yeah.
It's holistic, and it's like I never really like fully, I don't know, I just sort of like done little bits and pieces here and there, and then realized like it was all coming together and realizing it is all holistic. And that's why doing my coaching certificate and getting so into health and well-being and nutrition was because of my own journey and how it's actually helped me so much become, from surviving to thriving, basically.
Yeah. I say you
And
look
connection and
yeah. I just want to say
thank
you look
you.
amazing. You look amazing.
Thank you.
So
Oh, thanks,
proud of
honey.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's taken me a while, but it's like, this is again, like I just like I knew I was going to be this person one day, even through my active addiction. Like I always had this picture of who I was going to be. It's just like, and this is why I believe in so much about our spiritual connection. And like to a degree, I do believe that like there is parts of our life that are predestined, because or where, we can at least visualize it. I didn't know where those visuals were coming from, but it was like I just knew in my being that I was never going to be there forever.
That
So yeah, and here
that's
we are.
that's it. Never lose hope. Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely not. That's it. And it's like, yeah, it's my connection has, yeah, brought me home to myself, basically.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
Well done. Well done. And yeah, how much would you say nutrition has helped on your journey after all that you've done lots of courses and mentorships and workshops? Um,
Mm,
yeah, do you want to share a bit on a bit more of some of those journeys you've experienced?
yeah. So I think nutrition, once I got back onto the meat and got back into that understanding more so like what my food was really doing for me and how it was healing my body, it was a really big component for quite a while. And that's all I was focused on was basically just my food, looking at my triggers that were triggering inflammation, and giving me flare-ups. And that's, yeah, so that was a huge component of like where I am now. Um, when you look at the wheel of life, I think that's what, 7 areas. So it's like, one of 7 areas. And I can't, like, honestly, I couldn't do like my work, like it all fits, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, nutrition's huge, but I do believe that also like somatic body work is just as important. Getting, learning about mindset and integrating that as well is a big one. And knowing when, like when to pull out each tool, for sure. And that's like nutrition helps me like when I'm starting to go into like picking at sugar, looking for the vices that I'm trying to self-soothe from something that's going on for me, and like starting to maybe um go out of flow with, with my eating, like pulling that back in, it just starts to like soothe and, yeah, get me back on track. So it's, yeah, it is a big part of my journey because, yeah, the sugar, or, like obviously sugar's natural, there is natural sugar, but I'm talking pastries or something more, more decadent.
Stuff that looks beautiful and
All that, just the stuff that just sneakily sneaks in, really cheekily sneaks in. So yeah, it's a been a massive component. And for me, it's self-nurturing, like I think one of my biggest love languages is food, and not for myself, but, to nurture other people with as well. And another reason why I did go back to eating meat was learning about ancestral love and like eating from your ancestry. And it's like when I started doing inner child healing and just like really coming home to my heart, realizing that like meat and veggies and, eating all the things that my nan used to make and used to help nan with in the kitchen, and like all those childhood memories of food, like that was some of the biggest healing that's, gone on for me, was actually like to, yeah, heal through loving memories.
And
Also remembering that the hands are an extension of the heart. So creating with your hands is also an extension of your heart. So
yes, sister, you just reminded me like how one person could make a meal and then another person could make the same meal, but when they put their love, intentions of love
yes,
into it, and it tastes so much better.
100%. Like, is there anything better than like your nan's homemade lasagna, or like, you know what I mean? Or your
Right?
mum's like coming home, like mum would always say, like, okay, I'm like, you need to make me lasagna coming home. Like, and it just hits that spot. It's just like, oh,
So true. Like my mom's giving me her chocolate chip cookie recipe. I've never been able to make them the same.
no.
Right? My mother-in-law makes the best lasagna. She's given the recipe. I can never make it as good as her. It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
100%.
teach me your
It's
love
just missing
potion.
that extra essence. Yeah, for sure. It is. There's something so much that, yeah, healing through food is just, yeah, it's miraculous at times, honestly. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And something I'm really into now and just really delving into is eating as local and organic as possible, and just knowing where your food comes from, like grass fed as much as possible or organic as much as possible. Um, Less sprays. Again, hands are the extension of the heart. So growing your own food, because apparently, like, from what I've heard, if you grow something, like the plant's taking on exactly what you're lacking within your body, and it actually grows those vitamins and those nutrients that your body needs specifically for you.
Wow, they're so smart.
There's so much in it. Like, I'm just like, I'm forever fascinated by this world and, what we really get to enjoy here on, on this earth, because yeah, it's incredible.
Amen, sister.
Mm.
Yeah, and so do you have any tips for our listeners who are on this road to nutrition and they just don't know where to start?
Mm. In all honesty, like seeking support is a really big one. Like, try and cut out as much of the noise as you possibly can when it comes to scrolling on Google, or constantly hearing all these things that are like contradicting themselves. Like, that's probably, if you are overwhelmed with health and well-being, like just seeking support, and however that looks, a naturopath, like a coach, like anyone, like someone that's going to help you customize something for you. And I say that only because I strayed away from seeking support for so long, trying to work it out myself. And it was actually within me personally, it was actually a trauma response to really wanting support. It was, doing it with people. Um, so yeah, I mean, some tips would definitely like just get your body moving, drinking water. If you are prone to inflammation, if you do flare up a lot, like just like going as low sugar, like low sugar, or if you're eating sugars, like eating it with something. So it's not like directly hitting your bloodstream. Like, rather than eating a block of chocolate, like eating something that's got more fiber in it, like a bar or something like that, that's going to satiate you. Um, and yes, just eating as whole food as possible, like starting there, just fruits, vegetables, meat, yogurts, cheese, good quality bread, just really looking at labels, and like the less numbers and the less preservatives, emulsifiers in it, the better, you
Yeah.
know. dairy as like raw or organic as possible, something that hasn't been through like a massive processing um, process. And staying away from labels, like everything that's like low sugar or low fat, all these sorts of things, like just actually turning around and looking at what's in those products, you know.
Yes, because
That's probably my biggest tip, definitely.
yeah.
Um, Staying away from numbers and emulsifiers and keeping it as real as possible.
And when you mean numbers, do you mean like food coloring numbers?
Yeah, so food like colorings, numbers, preservatives. So anything that looks like a chemical cocktail in the ingredients list. And emulsifiers are actually, so talking to a naturopath the other day, emulsifiers in like your milks, in those, like alternative milks, and can really be doing a lot to the gut microbiome. And especially if you have leaky gut or anything with the gut lining, can really be affecting that as well. So these gums, all the things that they put in food to preserve them, um, just looking at that and trying to keep it as natural and real as possible.
Yes. And it's thank you. You reminded me about how important it is to listen to our bodies because I used to
Mm,
love drinking cider, alcoholic cider.
mm.
Loved it. That's all I would drink. But I started noticing a pattern. I'd get really bloated and it started to cramp up. And finally I just had to say, okay, I have to stay away from this. And now, my new drink of choice is ginger beer, even though my 2025 goal is to stay away from alcohol.
Yeah.
But like, how many of us sometimes just don't even listen to what our body's trying to tell us?
And this is like when I was talking about spiritual practices before, it's like when you were feeling like, I know now that when I'm feeling foggy and disconnected, or I'm like lost in like chaos of like making money, or like, that perpetual hamster wheel that we can get on, it's like clearing out and tuning back into my body, because the body is our best navigation system. It's where it's all at. So definitely, the more that we clear out and that we can do cleanses or like cut the crap, basically, is then when you can actually then start to hear and feel for yourself, like what food's doing for you, what, toxic environments, like the environments that you're surrounding yourself in, the relationships that you're interacting with, like, are they drawing from you and taking from you? Are they replenishing you? Like, how do you feel after an interaction? Like, there's so many things that you can really start to feel when your body is clear, you know? And so that's why I do definitely recommend clearing out, getting healthy, and then you're able to feel
Yeah,
what's you and feel what's something else, somebody else, something else.
yes. It's interesting you mentioned that because I find ever since I've cleaned up my diet and I'm on this road to being more healthy, my intuition is so much stronger.
Yeah, babe. 100%.
It's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. So good. I remember doing my first cleanse ever, and like off sugar and like really learning about it. I was like, holy heck. I was like, it's like these antennas just like, like I could just feel and intuit things. And I was like, whoa, is that really like what's going on around me? Like it was wild. And then actually, it was interesting when I started binging, or like if I'd start eating cheekily again, and I was like, holy shit, that makes me feel like crap, but I wasn't able to feel the effects of that before because it was so habitual and I was just so bogged down in the fog that you just actually had no idea.
And numb to it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which is, yeah, all part of the program, I feel. It's like, like when you're feeling sick, like you can't be bothered, you don't have the energy to maybe like intuit things or to question things, like when you're really under that fog. So it's like, and feeling down and sick. So it's like when you start to clear out, like your vitality, like you're sharper, like you really starting to see and feel things on a different level.
You're beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jesse, do you have any final thoughts that you would love to leave our listeners with?
You deserve this. Honestly, you deserve this gift of love to yourself, and that you're worth it. You are. And that the biggest act of self-love is the one that you can give by your everyday habits and just how you look after yourself. And, like the best relationship you're going to have is the one with yourself and how you nurture that to be able to nurture others. So it's really just like coming home to yourself and just knowing that you're worth that.
Oh, that's beautiful. I thank you. I just, you know what, it's only in the last year where I finally feel I'm good enough. And it's right.
Yes.
We all think we're not good enough, but
Yeah.
we are all good enough.
We're all enough. We're all good enough. Yeah, we're divine miracles, like that we all get to be here on this earth. And it's like, why not just go big picture with that?
Right? The
Our
time's gonna
love.
pass anyway. So let's,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
invest in ourselves and, let's help each other along the way. You don't have to do it alone.
No, that's oh my gosh, I was saying this the other day. It's like if I knew what I knew now, it would definitely be don't do things alone. And if anything, like you're talking about lockdowns, at the start of tonight, and it was like that's what I feel like has really happened. It's like now we have to come back to ourselves and to each other and come in to community. That's one of the biggest things Mana ever taught me was the power of community. And I was like, wow, like this stuff's cool. Never done this sober.
I bet it's more enjoyable.
Oh my God. It's like, yeah, it was scary at first, I'm not gonna lie. Now I'm like, I'm all about like how we can, yeah, interact with other people and just, yeah, really build community.
I love that. Building community is one of my goals as well. I never really
Yeah.
grew up with community because I never lived anywhere longer than 4 years growing up. So
Yeah. Yeah.
community is a
Yeah.
big one on my radar as
I've
well.
got goosebumps and it's things like
Right?
that.
And, and community, it doesn't have to be, the 20K radius. It can be, global, just
Oh,
connect.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep building it and they will come.
Build it and they will
And
come.
being yourself, because then, like, just being yourself in this world, like, because then the right people come to you. You attract, like, you build that community, like, yeah, with like-minded individuals. They will come.
Build it and they will come. Jesse, this is
Yes.
so much fun. Girl, let's have another episode. Let's dive
Yes.
here. I think this was
Yes.
an introduction. So, um,
Great.
yeah. So if anyone has
Thank you
any
for having me.
questions for either of us, any comments, comment below, share, like, subscribe, stay up to date. More coming your way. So,
Mm.
Jesse, thank you so
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a
much.
blast.
Love
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.